Hi, hello, and welcome back to or welcome to Ever So. This will be a reading of Becoming Nobody by Knife Can't Spell, which is a prequel to He Knows You, He's Nobody. Summary. The treatment of Japan quercus population isn't that bad. The official documents say that the quercus people don't even exist. Or Izuku Midoriya doesn't exist. Nobody is a good information broker despite that. Izuku Midoriya was quirkless. Izuku Midoriya did not exist. Not according to the government, who deleted most of his files the moment he turned 15. The end of middle school. Not that he got the chance to finish. His records has mysteriously vanished after a year before they officially deleted. He spent that year walking around, trying to continue his education through the library books and online courses. So, Izuku Midoriya was nobody. He didn't exist and didn't want to. Inko was concerned in a way he never got used to, acting like his glass, then ignoring him when he mentioned bullying. He was sure she loved him. She just didn't understand. Not really. Meeting All Might while on a walk was amazing. Talking to him, less so. Izuku Midoriya was not a hero. Izuku Midoriya would never be a hero. All Might reassured him of that, and Izuku agreed, reluctantly. By the time he found a way off the tall building, it was dark, and his phone was full of missed calls, all from his mother. Izuku Midoriya walked home, finding an empty apartment. Inka was probably at the police station, frantic by now. Izuku Midoriya packed a bag, tucked away some money, and left. Izuku Midoriya was missing for 2 days before declared legally dead, as if he had been considered legally alive before, and the case closed. Izuku spent those 2 days missing, walking alleys and streets and dirty beaches. He eventually stopped on a dirty beach, sleeping curled in most his hoodies and against scrap metal. Weirdly, he felt at ease among the materials that others claimed were junk. Although a couple hours of looking around proved that most materials wasn't just useless junk, still semi-functional computers and laptops and phones, washing machines and dryers and TVs. Izuku never knew much about technology before, but the past year of walking and library visits gave him enough basic knowledge to gather some of the useful junk. More library visits and searching online led to the eventual creation of a mostly functional laptop. It worked. It even connected to Wi-Fi when he took it to an internet cafe. Izuku kept researching support items, quirk analysis, body language, information gathering, information brokers. That caught his attention. He had already set up some links to hopeful students support selling pieces of material cheaper than they could get commercially, saving money and buying only what he needed. Information brokering wasn't that heroic, although undergrad heroes used them plenty to get the information they needed. Villains too, using them to establish teams and get weapons. Izuku Midoriya considered it. He was good at getting information, understanding people, quirks, puzzles. You didn't need a quirk for that. And he was good at it. So he decided if he couldn't be a hero, he could always have them. Besides, the job apparently paid well, and he could do with the money. A two-room apartment was difficult to buy without paperwork proving your identity, which is why an 18-year-old student by the name Miriko Akito now owned a two-bedroom apartment within a half an hour travel of UA and the red light zone. A split between dreams and reality, the perfect middle ground. Izuku, now Miriko Akito, according to his paperwork, had a minor emotional reading quirk, which was really the work of years learning body language, a skill he quickly realized was useful for things other than avoiding Bakugo when he was angry, and feeling guilty about his mother's own emotion. Izuku Midoriya was doing well, all things considered. The false identity was easy to obtain, calling in favors from some of his slowly growing network, putting aside money for food and furniture, even taking a paid-time American university degree to keep up on his education. Not to mention his new hobbies of martial arts and parkour, both skills he learned from an older information broker that had spent his former years a hero. Life was good. Izuku continued to learn, hacking and building technology, collecting information and selling it on, keeping track of favors and people. Within a few months, he was a relatively well-known broker, briefly meeting other brokers from nearby areas, and promptly claiming his chosen area. Being a nobody was useful. He could listen to people chatter about secrets they shouldn't have, could buy knowledge from loop-liced rats, could hack records with ease. He could jump rooftops like the city was a playground, could put an opponent on the ground like child's play, could threaten enemies by knowing too much. Izuku Midoriya died. Nobody thrived. The news was fast. A day after, and the US jet attack was broadcast around Japan. Nobody saw the news, wrote down the name, and continued to work. He had long since learned about All for One, having traced the little knowledge All Might gave him back to the dawn of quirks and back again, making the link between the assumed dead villain and the new League of Villains was simple. Finding more proof of the link was harder. Nobody worked in the underground, in the shadows, where the villains lived. One wrong move could alter All for One of his interest, could lead to an ultimately death. He shivered, pulling up a new tab, I'll scrolling through Discord messages, pulling aside some minimal information from public chatter. There were a few profiles of UA students discussing what happened, and another 1A student active, but only sending short, simple messages. The class survived, thanks to luck, and no thanks to All Might. Nobody closed the app. Turning back to his research, content the new heroes were doing well. 1A were going to be great heroes. Miriko Akito bought tickets to the sports festival. Money was good and the seats were decent. He still recorded the live version for notes later on and to rewatch the other years. Nobody watched, writing coded messages on the quirks and students, smiling at the deadpan announcement from Erased. Erased was a good hero, on the ground, one nobody hasn't interacted with yet. He fought, practically useless, and Izuku Midoriya would have loved him. The sports festival ended dramatically with Bakugo in chains and Todoroki standing in second place. Nobody was long gone, already on a train to Hosu. He had business. Then Yelida was an idiot. Nobody decided. Stain was foolish and hypocritical. He would no longer be a problem. Tensei Ida sent his thanks for that. People were starting to talk about the mysterious information broker, about the one who took down Stain, who jumped roofs and fought violently. Nobody was happy enough. If they feared him, they wouldn't even think he was quirkless. He would fight tooth and claw before admitting that to anyone again. The Discord server was active with news. New villain, new heroes, something happening with the Shihazaki. Nobody scrolled through messages, sending some DMs to hero students on the quirks, offering advice. One in particular, Kaminari Denki, had a very interesting quirk, but he was clearly using it in a way that wasn't working. Trying to be a long-range fighter when he'd do so much better as a short-range brawler or even a support. A few more messages, these on his burners, a tip from a friend about the potential of UA asking for his help. That makes nobody pause. UA ask for his help. Probably about the League of Villains. They're become troublesome. Nobody had folders on the group, of course. Some minor blackmail and more debating led to a very useful friend who currently spends his day waiting for the League to call him in for the move. Toya Todoroki, or Dabi, was very useful. Nobody appreciated the man who, despite his uncaring demeanor, still checked in on the boy, sending messages whenever he could. Dabi was working on helping another League member while still remaining subtle. A blood-based quirk, though useful and interesting, but their bloodlust was less appealing to the public. Nobody shook his head, focusing back on the problem at hand. UA. He uploaded the files he had onto an USB stick, hesitating before adding the contact details to a new burner too. It was likely Erased who would be sent to find him, as he had the most links to the underground. Nobody had figured out the nearby heroes' patrol routes a few months ago, after one too many close calls during meeting and information trades. With all this information, he checked the time and settled in to wait. No point waiting in the cold when Erased didn't even patrol for another 3 hours. 10 minutes, if Erased was on time. Nobody kicked his leg, looking down on the few strangles on the dark street. The ones keeping to the flickering lights and glancing around with unease. The ones sticking to the shadows, glaring at people with anticipation. The ones sitting in the corners, huddled up, ignoring everyone but still keeping a steady eye on everything. 5 minutes. Nobody tapped the wall, fiddled with his mask, and readjusted the hood. Eyes green in the little light reaching past the smooth porcelain, the mask that now started to inspire respect, and sometimes fear. 2 minutes. Nobody started passing the USB between his hands, anxiety thrumming under his skin. Was his information right? Is this what they wanted? Was this the right choice? He glared down at the chipping black paint covering the telltale red of a quickless shoe. 1 minute. Nobody glanced across the horizon, chewing his lip even after the taste of iron fills his mouth. Nobody stills and smiles. Erased watches and joins nobody, sitting on the edge of something new. Thank you for listening to me. Well, stay safe, stay hydrated. See ya.